Hello world, how's it going? Hope you guys are all doing great. If not, as always, I hope it gets better for you. Welcome to another Friday night live Q&A where you can ask questions about keeping freshwater, aquarium, fish, shrimp, plants, whatever you guys may have questions about with this hobby. That's what we do this for. That's why we're here, to help each other out, to make it better for ourselves, and to actually enjoy this hobby, because that's why we got into the hobby, was to enjoy it. So I know it can come with a lot of variables and it can come with a lot of questions. And that's why I create this forum platform to do these. But hello everybody in the chat here. Great to see y'all in here. Outside in Aquatics, thanks so much for posting that up. Already thrown in the website link. LRB's full stock list. Don't miss out on those rare rice fish. So yeah. Got some super rare rice fish on the website right now. Actually am the only person in the United States that actually have them. I've got quite a few of them, and they used to be priced for 30 bucks last time they were sold. I chopped them down to 20 because I bred them myself, and I figured share the wealth. And with springtime coming in, would be a great fish. And I'm starting to wonder if they can actually breed those the rice fish that I have. They actually come from Indonesia, and they get quite a bit bigger than your normal rice fish. So I'd say about yay long, which is, for those listening, about 3 inches long, maybe tops, and just a little wider body. But I have seen that they've made like bigger long fins of the rice fish, and I'm wondering if they have been crossbreeding those with those. I was going to kind of keep that a secret to myself, but I don't know. Anyways, you guys that are listening have just now got that nice little tidbit. It's kind of on the forefront of rice fish right now. But those are on there, as well as a bunch of other new ones that I have added. We're slowly getting the stock list up to where it used to be back in the old house. Tara Yarber, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. It says, hello world. Hey, got some Q&A to do. I hope you're doing fine, because it's Q&A time again. Hope you're doing good, LRB. Well, thank you so much, Tara. I appreciate that. I absolutely love the name Tara. I have always liked that name for some reason. It's just a cool name. But thank you so much, Tara. I'm trying to heart it there. There we go. But thank you so much for the support. It is definitely helpful right now, because I am trying to get some ponds going outside. That's going to be, I think, the next task I'm going to work on. I got to save up quite a bit to get to that. Get all the liners and whatnot. I was thinking about just digging it myself and just getting a heck of a workout from it for this summer, but God, I could get it done so much quicker if I just rent a backhoe or an excavator for a night. Hey, buddy. That's Wesley telling you guys hello. The ghost. Yeah, they can't. Melissa, Lady 10 says, know where I could get some orange really shrimp. That's a good question. I think the Garden of Eater may have some. Besides that, I don't really know. Melissa Skinner have removed all fish as they didn't look great. Just worried there may be a coating in them. Any advice? Have removed all fish as they didn't look great. Just worried there may be a coating in them. So what kind of fish were they? Like, what did they look like? Were they fuzzy? Were they new? Did something change in the... Oh, from hand lotion. Yeah. If you did have some hand lotion in there and you feel like it detrimented the system, you are better off just removing the fish like you did. So you totally went the right route. And if you can, put them in another situation with like a bucket or a tub or a tank if you have it, and then get them in something new. That way the system that they're in now can help rebound any kind of impurities that they may have on their skin coat, and the bacteria would do their job. So just water change the tank that happened to, I would probably smell it over time and then maybe test one after a few water changes, because that beneficial bacteria and stuff within that water can actually break a lot of that down over time, and the dilution is always the solution with those sorts of impurities. Oh, Xanadu. Thank you, Xanadu, for gifting those memberships. Very awesome of you, Xanadu, and your continuous support. Welcome, new members. And we did do a special members live in here. What was that, last night?
No, Wednesday night.
Wednesday night? Okay. Yeah, after shipping. Yeah, my shipping night. Oh, there we go. I didn't even get in frame here. I kind of hopped on here real quick. You guys, but Xanadu, thank you again so much. And Carrie Brenton, glad you made the live stream. Got me with them question marks. That always helps. Throw them question marks, and I will probably Ron Burgundy the whole thing. Which for those youngins, that means I'll probably just read it. You read the old teleprompter, no matter what you put on there. I'll try to get back to where I was too, so I didn't miss any questions. Mimic Nature says, I'm getting some orange Venezuelan cories next Tuesday. Do you know if they have the same general care as most cories? What have you found to be their ideal temp? So with cory cats, I mean, if you're between the mid 80s down to the mid 70s, that's pretty ideal. And then for those Venezuelans, those cold water changes will definitely help trigger them. But a lot of the cories are pretty much all the same. They all come from the same areas of South America. Granted, some may have different altitudes and like to breed differently, but most of them all trigger with the cold water change. Some people keep them like Eric Bodrock. He keeps his on a sump. He believes that the hormones from other ones will actually trigger their cories to breed as well. But it all comes with giving them a good diet too, making them feel comfortable where they're at. As long as they're comfortable where they're at, they'll breed, and there's enough food. Daphne is always a really good trigger for those two as well. Adrian's in the house. Adrian's Fish Room. Yeah, there he is. Hello, all from Australia. Happy Saturday. Hello, brother. Well, good to see you in here, Adrian. Hope you're doing well. From all the way on the other side of the world. Dude's got a dynamite fish room. Glad to see him doing the YouTube thing. He says he has a ton of orange shrimp and all the other colors if you're in Australia. I know the Australian market for shrimp is a lot different. And I love that, like, keeping fish simple, and a lot more people from Australia are really popping up into the YouTube scene. What is Blake? Blake's, he's Australian too. What is it, Aquatics? Blake's Aquatics? Thomas G, what's up, brother? Says, have you opened up the bug buffet yet? So yes, Nick definitely made sure I had fed some of my tanks with the bug buffet. And it actually smells really good. So if you're like trying to smell like, it just smelled like a healthy food, real earthy. So that was the one thing that really took me back, like, cause you never know what a food's gonna smell like, and some food just smells fake, you know. But it did smell real earthy. The ingredients were good. The fish loved it. It's a little more powdery than what I would look for in some of my tanks, but for some of my other tanks, that powderiness that can come off of it is actually good for, like, I would say guppies, endlers, rice fish, those sorts of fish. But like rainbows and cichlids and ones that go for more of the chunk of the food compared to all the little bits, it's not as good for the system that way. So it is really good food. Lady 10 says, thoughts on almond leaves for shrimp tanks? Yeah, definitely. It creates a food source for them. So you've got an automatic food cycle that's naturally there. So say if they're not getting enough to eat, they're going to be able to eat on that. And I do feed my shrimp every day as well. Alright. We aren't allowed to keep shrimp in New Zealand. So unfair. That is unfair. That sounds... Why not in New Zealand? Like, are you guys gonna, like, get a bunch of shrimp to go wild and all of a sudden you got this awesome shrimp economy within your country that they don't have to, like, mess with? Because what else they exporting? I'll try not to get political on New Zealand either. But I do know a bit of your country and what it's been doing. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Oh, Branton Lightcap says, I've been meaning to order some big bug buffet. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, you can order it. So I think he's shipping it internationally. I don't know where all into, but I think he does ship it to the States right now. Oh, Craig Campbell, how's it going? Says, sup, Fish Fam. Happy B-Day to Lady LRB. So, yeah, if some of you guys didn't see my short that I had released yesterday was Lady LRB's birthday, so it was nice to go out and spend some family time with everybody and celebrate her birthday. Showed off her little terrarium down here. So if you guys didn't see that, she's got a really cool, like, bog terrarium, which is like a 10-gallon, and it's got very little water in it. But she just kind of put these hodgepodge of plants in, and it's grown out really nice. And it's actually, how long has that been going, babe? Oh, I'm not sure. So, I don't know. She don't know.
I'd say about 6 months, but my time.
I would say it's been at least about 6 months. You've had that for quite a while. Anyways, it's neat. Wayne's Aquatic says, which is better for your aquarium, crushed coral or argonite? So, we got acidic water. It kind of breaks it down. I would say very similar as far as the way the calcium breaks down and the acidity will eat it up. So I don't know if one's actually that much better than the other. I would say whichever is better for your wallet on that one, actually. Because what happens is you use that just so the acidity will make your water more hard. Or at least give your fish or shrimp some kind of mineralization into the tank. If you got hard water, you don't need it. Brandy Rutledge, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Huge super chat. Said, happy birthday, Lady LRB. Brandy just threw $20 at you, Lady LRB. She says, thank you, thank you. And so do I. That is awesome of you. And hope you're doing well, Brandy. Always good to see you around. And I hope you got your tanks all settled in from the move. Alright, and let's see. Oh, 7 months, she said. She went back in time and checked. Adam Worley says, have you noticed your trout guddians eating floating plants? Mine are like little lawnmowers. So that's what people say. But I think I've just got so much guppy grass in there with them that it grows as fast as they can eat it. Because, yeah, they haven't even made a dent into that guppy grass. And I've been keeping them in no filter. And they have been having babies, so that's good. The only thing with their tank right now, though, is it is right by a window, so it's a lot of green water. They could be eating that green water, too, on top of that guppy grass. Okay, let's see. Adrian's Fish Room says, I didn't know that about New Zealand. Yeah, I know, pretty crazy. It's like some places in America you can't have crayfish. And forget getting anything out of Australia to America. It's like, can't we just like play Noah's Ark here? Kevin Bailey says, moving one of my Amazon swords out of my 75, about a year old, with several Crips. Can I just cut, leaving most of the root to become Crip food? Seem some way they will rot and destroy the world, lol. So, with a big Amazon sword like that you had growing for a long time, what I would do is I would get into it and I would put my hands and fingers down up underneath that root ball, and you'll have all these extenders and everything around from like the mass of the ball, and you'll finger your way down, you'll feel it and you'll feel yourself around it. And then you want to be slow about this. What you'll do is you will shake it slightly as you're moving it up. And the slower you shake it and move it up, the less you'll disturb everything. If you just go in there and you start ripping it apart, like boof, you're gonna get dirt everywhere, you're gonna get mulm everywhere. It's gonna dirty your tank up and it's gonna be hard on the roots. But if you sit there and vibrate it and shake it out, it'll slowly come out and not disturb as much, and you'll get a lot of those roots. And then what you'll want to do after you get that all out of the aquarium, you can kind of take those roots if they're like too crazy for them. What I like to do is I like to put it down into the new place of where it needs to be, and then add sand on top of it, because I use sand a lot. The substrate, you put your substrate, like have half your substrate there, then have half the substrate back on top of it, where you could either scoop it over or you could add it on top of it. That way you don't have to worry about trying to tuck and bury all those roots. Now if you do go that method of where you're trying to tuck and bury all those roots, you grab it by the ball, you can either spread it out as much as you want to, but if you don't want it really spread out, you can I'll kind of like twirl the roots kind of around to where it's more compact, and then just stick it in like that. And it can feed off of its own dead roots and whatnot, and then it'll just grow back out. So there's a few ways you could do that. That's how I would tackle that. But the old roots would just become Crip food, so you don't have to worry about any old roots from that tank like causing problems. If you want to, and they're like big ones and it just seems easy for you to pull out, go ahead. But as long as you got a good diverse microbiology diverse tank, I don't know if you're keeping a sterile system. Sterile system's a little harder to do that with, but if you have more of a natural system, it's quite easier to do it with, because the microbiology does a lot of work. Chris Resecker, good question, says, what is CCAC? So this is Circle City Aquarium Club. This was my first aquarium club in Indianapolis that I had joined, and just wearing it in tribute to them, and got my name on it. Elder Brits, Aquatics, old school shirt. Pulled that out of the closet. Yeah, Circle City Aquarium Club. Car Lover says, do you ship your shrimp USPS? I do, and I have forever. I don't trust any of the other ones with them, honestly. A lot of people will say UPS, but I've seen a lot of people that said UPS not do it anymore too, so take that however you would like. I mean, USPS has definitely treated me good. And I think it's all on when you send it out. So we time ours. Like, I time mine to where it's like, it's not going to spend much time at the post office. It's pretty much going to them as soon as they're going to leave out of the truck to take it to the main facility. So it's already on the move after it gets to mine. Now, if you go take it early in the morning or you drop it off, whatever, it's going to be sitting there at the post office. You never know what they're going to do with it for so long, or what kind of temperatures they're going to keep it in. So I think timing them when you're putting stuff or sending stuff through the mail makes a big difference. And I push them out on Wednesday. That way they try to get there before the whole weekend. And that way people are home around the weekend to get them. Because not everybody's going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off to properly accept their fish or whatnot. Cameron Lou says, have you ever tried bug bites? I have been holding off on buying bug buffet due to already having bug bit flakes. What's your opinion? So personally, I haven't tasted them, but I have tried them in my tanks. The bug bites, I use the big formula for my axolotls. I guess it says medium to large fish size, which is a fairly decent chunk. And I have had the smaller ones, and they're pretty clean food. They're pretty clean food. I don't mess with flake food, so I couldn't tell you much about that. But I would say the bug buffet is more diverse. And it does get a bit more powdery. The bug bites stay more solid, but they're a lot harder to crumble as well. So it could depend on what kind of fish you're trying to feed there. Big Mac Nature says, I already hatched baby brine shrimp and I'm venturing into culturing infusoria. Are there any non-live fried foods that you would find useful? Non-live fried foods? Like egg yolks. Some people used to do like egg yolks where they crunch it up. Yeast is kind of live. Yeast is good. Pollen's good. But is pollen alive or not? I don't know. It's not like a baby brine shrimp, but that sort of small stuff's good. I wonder, no, I was just thinking, like, if you could just, like, take a leaf and just scrape stuff off that, if that would actually feed your fish or not. Tanya H says, have you ever known neon blue gobies to kill shrimp? You know what? The Styphidens, those little ones, they don't really seem to have that behavior or the mouth to do it, in my opinion. But who knows, if they were just hungry and hangry enough and they're just like, I'm gonna eat your little chicken leg shrimp, and just ripped a couple of legs off, man, maybe that shrimp didn't like that and couldn't handle that much. So it's really hard to tell what could be the situation. If you see a lot of something happening, then, you know, maybe something really is happening. But if it was just like a freak accident, maybe that shrimp was too old, or maybe it had shrimp cancer, or maybe it had a shrimp a heart attack. I've seen fish have heart attacks. I've saved fish from heart attacks. Like, that kind of stuff happens to animals. Like, just like humans, we don't always live to our full extent. Same with animals. So say you got a fish supposed to live 3 to 5 years, or, you know, it's not always guaranteed to be 3 to 5 years. Wesley, I'm gonna ban you.
I'm sorry.
Love ya. Do you ship a shrimp USP? Already I read. I don't know how I got all the way back to that. Let's see.
I'm just doing my thing, being a ghost.
You are doing your thing. Can you guys hear that? There's a ghost in here. Luca Brazzi says, had 2 nice bronze Crips that completely melted away. You're funny, buddy. Now came back as miniature versions. What can I do to help? So the best thing you could do to help with those is just leave them. Often what they'll do is they'll pop back and kind of grow to their size. Usually they get bigger after they melt back. So hopefully they'll just grow back bigger and stronger. Give them some time. Matter of fact, in my 470 gallon pond, I have tons of Heuteroid Crips everywhere. And it seems like every winter they always melt back. And it's always so tough because they go all the way up to the top of that 470 gallon pond, which is, I don't know, freaking probably like 16 inches at least. But they'll always come back stronger. And I've noticed that with most of my other Crips too. But usually if you do a cold water change on those Crips, it'll cause those melting. So be careful with those cold water changes on Crip plants. And H says, my shrimp arrived after an extensive adventure and they are doing incredibly well. May I ask you what you feed your shrimp? Well, thank you, Ann. If it is me who you ordered from.
Yes,
It is me. Okay. Well, thank you, Ann, for the order and the support. And as far as what I feed them Tetra Color Tropical Granules. I don't know. It's not the best food, but it works really good for what I do, how I feed, and my fish just go for it. And it's actually really bright, so I can tell if I'm overfeeding or whatnot. But they like a nice protein diet, and they're omnivores. They like their veggies and their proteins. I think a lot of people lack the proteins, and not a lot of people, but some people think that shrimp just like to eat their greens and algae or stuff like that, but in actuality, they love that high protein. Because you got to think about bugs and other things that fall into the waterways and they snack on, and other fish pass away, and other critters, frogs, and whole nature of it all. Javi Carranza says, thoughts on vernal pools. Recently found one near my house with tons of fairy shrimp, scuds, and daphnia. Collected some to start some live food cultures. Vernal pools? I don't know. I'm going to have to Google that later. Just took a picture of it. I've never actually heard of a vernal pool, but I have been wanting to make a fairy shrimp tank, like a live food tank at some point. I should probably have a scuds one. What did I do with my scuds? I had scuds at one point. I don't remember where I put those things. That's probably why. I was wondering why I was missing pogo stimming in a couple of my quarantine tanks. I wonder if they're in there. Maybe. But anyways, those would be good to have. I think they're great. If you're a breeder, having those 3 pools or like a little, or a tank for all 3, or just one of those 3s, fairy, shrimp, scuds, or daphnia, would be huge for breeding. Or even if you just want to spoil your fish and you want to feed them something cleaner too, and you don't have to buy all your food. Craig Campbell says, LRB, my TDS is 370 and pH is 8.0, and I have a pistos. I have had them for 6 months and they seem to be thriving because they are breeding and having babies. Should I try to soften the water or just leave it? So if the babies are actually hatching and surviving, I would say not to mess with it. And if you feel like you're getting good enough numbers out of it, because usually the issue is, so you've got hard water being 370 TDS. Usually the issue with the pistos and breeding in that harder water is them getting out of the eggshells. And as long as you can get the babies to hatch out and doesn't seem to be a problem, then I would say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That is awesome to hear your success in hard water with them. Could mean they're becoming more temperament to those sort of situations, which is good for everybody in the hobby because it means that you're going to have tougher fish, which gives people better results and a better enjoyment out of their actual fish keeping. Blue Ice Aquatics, LRB, are there any rice fish available? So, yeah, the only ones I have on there are the Matana rice fish, the rare, bigger Indonesian rice fish. And as I mentioned earlier in the live stream, I am the only one that actually has those on the whole interwebs. Some people have had them back in the day, and mine are cheaper than what they used to have them. even though I am the only one to have them available. Which is pretty gnarly that I could, like, that just tells you how big the market still, or how wide open it is. There's 2 fish that I added to that website that I was the only person selling. So, I mean, that's just wild to think about, like, because so many people are like, oh, it's all been done already. Oh, there's nothing new under the sun. Oh, nothing new under the sun. Well, guess what, son? Brand new. That's pretty wild. Chia Pet says, LRB Aquatics, I think one of my ponds has Parkinsoni's. Ooh, that'd be nice, Chia Pet. I love the Parkinsoni's. So he's talking about a rainbow fish that gets like this half blazing orange, and the rest of the body is more like silver, like the rainbow sheen and all that stuff, which is such a cool contrast. Oh, Brandy Rutledge says LRB vernal pools are short-term wetland. Okay, so they get wet like just partial of the season and then dry out later. Kind of like what's going on in my front yard, where I think I got a vernal pool up there. Am I reading you right here, Brandy? Well, that's awesome, Kelly. Glad you loved that video. The Killi Fish breeding and the bettas breeding. Those are some old school videos. They're good though. Definitely good. Da-da-da. And thank you, Outside In Aquatics, for posting up the Matano rice fish there. Durf Sun says, ever known anyone to dehydrate worms for fish food? Did you find a place in the barn for the burnt wood? Solar pyrography. So I do have a place for that because I have quite a few knick-knack kind of spots. And I love how you do that solar pyrography. It's neat how you can just concentrate so much heat and energy from the sun. And it says a lot for, like, our electric bills last month were stupid. It was like $1,000 for just between the house and the barn. And that's insane. It's never been that high. And the fact that we could gather so much heat and energy and transfer it into batteries. There's more people on it. There's more people paying into it. And it's so abundant. It's just ridiculous how gatekept that whole energy industry is. But as far as dehydrating worms, I don't know if anybody has ever done it. Like, I've seen dehydrated worms from, like, rains, because up north, there's lots of worms in the ground. Up and down here in Florida, not so much. At least where I'm at, there's not many worms. Well, yeah, I guess you got yeah, that's right, freeze-dried bloodworms. I mean, so they do have a market out of it. I guess it would depend on your worm, too. You could probably do something with different worms. But it is not as like earthworms I have. Henry Figueroa says, everyone, don't forget to use the questions when asking questions. Oh, excuse me, questions so Lucas can see them better. Yes, question marks help me see that they're questions for sure. And thanks for the reminder, Henry. The Edge of Insanity says, what are the best Killi fish to start with? Well, see, I would say whichever one you fancy the most, because that's the one you're going to care about most. I wouldn't say one is really much easier than the other. I personally wouldn't do Nothos. I don't know. I'm not a big fan. A lot of people like the Nothos and will do the Nothos, and I think it's important that people do keep the Nothos type. But they are tough because they are only annuals. But you get into like the Amphicemians, the Chromo Amphicemians, the Epilotes, the Fundulopanchax, stuff like that. There's so many flavors of them. And they're all very similar on how they keep. And people just try not to make it more difficult than it has to be. Often we'll fight our tanks. Just try not to fight your tanks. One thing I've learned about, and the major punchline for my talks that I give, is to take the human error out of it. Like, quit trying to pinpoint things. That's why I don't test my water, because then you'll start messing with stuff and start screwing things up. And the less you mess with it, the more comfortable you make your fish, the more natural you make it, the more inviting and long lasting it will be down the road. And if you like those aquascape tanks, nothing wrong with that. Just be careful with CO2, because CO2 will get your fish drunk. It will keep them stunted, and it will shorten their lifespan. That's why you don't ever see any like huge big fish or older fish in these real nice aquascape tanks. I mean, you can. The people who do are using minimal CO2. Just be careful with that stuff. It's good for plants, though. It's like steroids for plants. Kelly Earich says, I used to have golden wonder Killi fish. They are beautiful, and they eat crickets, and they jump right out of the water to grab them. So much fun and pretty. So that's why I had that answer for those Killi fishes, because that's the Killi fish I started out with, was the golden wonders, which I don't know, for some people that may seem challenging. I know as far as like back in the day when those things were around, they weren't as common. Now you can get them on wholesale lists here and there, but before it was so hard to even find them. And oh my God, I remember when I turned around in the fish store and saw this pair. They were huge. They were probably like 4-inch plus. And they were the most gorgeous fish I had ever laid my eyes on. I was like, there is no way I'm gonna leave without those fish. And God, they were so amazing. They hooked me so hardcore. And I stuck them in a 10-gallon with some like bronze Crips. May had ADA soil in it, I think, and like some subwasser tang. And they ended up community breeding in there and having babies. So that was like my first like breeding adventure with fish. I had kept like fish before as a kid, but never to like the point I was trying to breed them or anything, or had any accidental breedings, because I never did get guppies. I got like stuff out of my creek or like some tetras or something. I loved the rummy nose when I was a kid. For some reason, the rummy nose seemed a lot more hardier back then than what they do now. But anyways, man, they ended up having quite a few babies, and they got up to like juvenile size. And then this part broke my heart, because I didn't know. So you hear about fish breeding, and like people just like breed fish out, and then they just like take the babies, and they just keep doing that over and over and over again. Well, these fish were attached to their babies, and I had split them up. I can't remember if I gave them away or if I sold them, but I had split them up from the parents, and the parents were not the same after that. It was really kind of sad. And that really put it into my brain, like, I've got to be ethical about how I breed fish too, because like there's something to that attachment, and I'm too empathetic for that kind of stuff. Like, I keep all my goofy fish, like if fish breed funny and they have like, they're just not right, like a bent fish or a zigzag fish. We've seen those zigzag fish, the one that people don't usually go for. I know many of you guys are empaths like me, and you guys are suckers for them too, but I like to usually give them the bigger tank. But anyways, yeah, that was rough when those golden wonders did not like that. And they were never the same, and didn't breed for me again. Then I was also going through a relationship. I was in a long relationship at that time too, because I started filling her apartment up with fish tanks, and she's probably like, I don't know about all this. Oh, but thank God for Lady LRB. She's like, all right, you dealt with it. Actually, I don't know if you knew quite what you were getting into. Shoot, I didn't know what I was quite getting into.
There you
It all just kind of happened. Here we are now. Stella's cuteness, always good to see you in here, says, why can't I ever seem to find chili raspberries? Have no clue. That would be sad if those like went to the wayside. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of information about breeding them. It's been a long time since I looked though too on either the market for them or if anybody has ever made a video on how to breed them. I would like to get some again though, because one of my favorite combinations is the chili raspberry and the kobatai. Absolutely beautiful. You get that red and green going. It's very Christmassy. Actually, I have some tanks and footage on my channel, old footage of that stuff. You'd have to type in the names of those fish in LRB to find it. Christopher Junkin says, I have a huge pair of Golden Wonders. That is awesome to hear. Shoot, do you ever get them to breed? Because I have some, but I have never seen any the size that these were. Like, all the ones I've seen and have gotten and have had time to, like, grow out and stuff, like, they just don't get that beef to them like those ones I had. And well, it's kind of like the blue Galaris. So, about the Golden Wonder Killi Fish, it's not an actual, like, that's not a wild fish. It's a trophy fish. It was made in Germany through the Linea Natus, and they just bred it to get that yellow golden color. And it's really amazing how they got it to that color like they did. And, it's like blue Galaris back in the day. So blue Galaris now, they're a lot more colorful now, but they're shorter. Usually stick around 4 or 5 inches tops. Sometimes only get to like 3. But back in the day, they used to grow them out to like a foot long. Could you imagine a foot long blue Galaris fish? Now, they weren't as colorful because they would get stretched out with their colors. But not with those Golden Wonders. Those Golden Wonders, even with the big ones, I think they had more color than the smaller ones. Like, they had that dark, like, deep, hardcore gold to them. Adam Lash says, hey, LRB, how long are you planning on incubating the blue Galaris eggs from your videos? So, I didn't pull any. Usually that's how I would pull them out and then put them on peat and do all that. I was seeing if I can, I know that you can. I saw Dave Ramsey do it on a YouTube video a long time ago, where he was pulling them out of this like gravel tank, dirty, moldy gravel tank. And he had babies in there and stuff. So I was trying to recreate to where they just throw their eggs around, I pull them out, and then I'll see some babies. So it's a process thing. I'm not like, it's not always a production thing for me. It's almost usually always like, I want to venture that process. I want to see like if this works, and then I want to share it with you guys. And that's why I like to do the research and development part of aquariums. So that's why I do it a little different. Even though I could probably be getting eggs and trying to be like more mindful about like, oh, I guess if I was money driven about it. But that's not completely like, yeah, I gotta feed myself and my family and keep projects going, but that's not my drive. To just like turn and burn. Let's see, scroll. Don't they breed like CPDs outside in aquatics? What, Killi Fish? Killi Fish are more like sticky eggs. I guess I mean, yeah, they don't lay a whole lot of eggs. They breed a bit different. I mean, they kind of do. They kind of do. The only difference is CPD eggs don't really stick to much. But the Killi Fish eggs will. But in their the behavior is sort of similar. The only difference is like the CPDs will use the top of their head to like fan and mark and whatnot, but the Killi Fish often will use their gills and they'll still flare their heads and stuff. Yeah, lots of floating plants, they will breed. Yeah, if you could get like water hyacinth or water lettuce or anything like that, those make great natural spawning mops. Captain Andrew Crabtree says would like to see an update on the aquarium garden. Welcome to Florida, brother. Just south of you in St. Pete. Well, that sounds nice. That sounds nice, and thank you. Yeah, I need to do an update on the aquarium garden. It's doing pretty good. I'm ready to expand the aquarium garden too. We got spring coming up, buddy. Oh man, I'm ready for it. I don't have much fish out there because I was just like getting everything ready before winter. But now that winter's about gone, I'll feel better about throwing stuff out there. And what I know that did survive out there, which I did test guppies. I had to test a couple guppies to see if they would, but unfortunately they did not. And then my platies did not. But my Mexican live bears did, and my rice fish, of course. Oh, what is that book, Ann? H says, loving the book, What a Fish Knows Right Now. That sounds like a really interesting book. I'm gonna screenshot. I'm gonna have to Google what that book is. What a Fish Knows. Bob S says, sounds like a tall tale. What sounds like a tall tale? The Golden Wonder tale? Like, oh yeah, I just came up with all that. Lady LRB's like, LOL, Bob, all his tales are long. Ooh. Not supposed to talk about that, Lady LRB. Just messing. Henry Figueroa says, Lucas, how did you meet Lady LRB? Oh, that's interesting. So I met Lady LRB. So we actually went to the same school in high school. And she was a freshman and I was a senior. But I gave like the anybody under a senior grade, like I did not give any of the girls attention. So like if you're like maybe out of school or something, like I give you some time, but so I never paid much mind, but I guess we hung out a couple times, and I don't really recall. She's over there giggling because I didn't really recall it or nothing. Then like 10 years later, I got my 10-year reunion, and her sister's in my class, and then we're all getting together and having a good time at the local saloon, bar, whatever you want to call it. And it's a small town, real small town. There's like 80 people in my graduating class, which my growing up was completely different. Like I lived in a big city, like all through elementary, and then lived through the country all through summer, and then I've been all over the place growing up. But where we lived, I have been there since middle school and high school. And the 10-year reunion came around, and we started talking. We started hitting it off. We hit it off like instantly. It was kind of like, I don't know, like God put us together, and we realized it, and have been together since. It all happened kind of fast. It was interesting. But here we are. Here we are. How many years later? God, I don't even remember. Unfortunately, don't tell her that. She's in another room not listening. What? Yeah, I did pretty good. I did pretty good with her. I don't know what you're saying. I did pretty good, but thank you.
The story of telling.
Oh, the story of telling. Well, thanks. Yeah, usually she's the one that tells that story. Bob S says, haha, all fishermen are liars except you and me, and sometimes I'm not so sure about you. Oh, that's funny, Bob. I like that. I like that. Honestly, I can't lie though. It's so hard for me to lie because it's just not in my nature. Because to me, it muddles things up. So if you lie about things, then like somebody asks you about them later, like so if somebody asks me a question about that, it would be so hard to like really give you the right information or anybody the right information or even to keep up with myself because my brain would be diluted by false memories and false words and it's just not healthy for people to do. And the sooner people realize that, the sooner their lives could probably be a lot easier for themselves. Chia Pet says, LRB Aquatics, how long does it take for Parkinsoni to be mature? Not sure I want to deal with them as I think there is only 3. Just saw them tonight. They survived 55-degree water. So there is actually a few of those rainbows fish that are cold water tolerant. I can't tell you all of them. Gary Lang, he actually knows a lot more of that than I do because he's tested them. He hasn't tested all of them, of course, but that's really interesting to hear about the Parkinsonis. That's a melanotania too, I believe, right? Melanotania, Parkinsoni. But anyways, as far as how old they got to be matured, if they're like 2-3 inches, they don't have to be real big, like sub-adults for rainbow fish. Is usually when they're most fertile. Adam Wesh says, hey LRB, it's not about you or the money. We demand the blue Galaris. I hear you, buddy. Dude, I hear ya. And I tell you what, I really need to, or at least give them to somebody who will. Matter of fact, I may give them to somebody who would want them and would spend more time dedicated towards them. The one that gets me my Killi Fish now, or that is breeding my Killi Fish now. And, which got some of her Epilotes to get eyes on the website right now, too. I think there's like 6 pairs of those left. Bob S says, I want the foot-long Galaris. You and me both, buddy. You and me both. Like, that's got to be a sight to see. I have seen some big Killi Fish. Eric Bodrock, Oddball Aquatics. He had these Moman Quii is the name of them. It's this Brazilian Killi Fish that gets like, I think it gets close to a foot long, but it's like thicker, like a thicker, bigger Killi Fish. It was the craziest Killi Fish I ever seen. Because it's almost like a little, looked kind of like a little chana, a little snake head. It's not, but it kind of looked like a snake head because of its size and its colorations and things, being a Killi Fish. A Moman Quii, something like that. I know, you guys are like, oh, what did he just say? What's that even mean? What are those letters? Okay, so let me say this. If you go to my last fish room tour video of Eric Bodrock, so type in LRB Eric Bodrock fish room tour, and I believe there was like 2 or 3 of them, but it would be the last one that I did of his, and he has those in that fish room tour. If you really want to see what those crazy, crazy, cool, big Killi Fish look like. And not to mention like information and stuff you get out of those fish room tours. It's pretty killer because you have a hardcore hobbyist and person who has gone through the gauntlets of breeding and stuff, filming and doing all that. So you have me that actually film those, and you know, as being a person that does what they do, it's a lot easier to connect with them. So it shows that through the fish tours. JP's Fish says, what's the best way to breed CPDs? I would say the easiest one for you to collect their eggs or to deal with them. So I have a couple breeding videos. Can't remember if I made the actual video of using the baskets for the egg scatters. So what I'll do is use a floating mesh basket. So you got those like pond planters that have the mesh on the bottom, and then you tie foam, like insulated wrap for pipes around it with zip ties, kind of like pool noodles, and that'll float, and then they'll drop their eggs down, and it could go into a bigger tank, and then you can collect them from that way. You can either bare bottom it, or you can just have it natural and let them naturally raise up. Or I've got an old video on how to breed them in these deli cups with a little bit of subwasser tang. They'll go into that deli cup, they'll throw all their eggs into there. It's into a concentrated spot. So if you're mindful about getting in there and pulling them out and getting the eggs, it can work really good. What I would recommend if you are doing it, that method, is to actually separate the males and females for a little bit of time and then put them in there. And then pull them back out, collect the eggs, and then do that again. Because if you keep pulling the eggs out of that same spot, the breeding will slow down. They'll kind of be like, oh, okay, we see what you're doing here. So you do got to change it up for them a little bit to not be so mindful about it. Fish are a lot smarter than what we give them credit for. Chia Pet says, anyone know where to get yellowfin white clouds or any other non-standard color besides longfin and yellow body ones? I have no clue. Actually, I need to get into the fish market again because I've got some tanks. I got to be careful with that though. I have been thinking about it, that I can do some fish shopping at some point. I'm not really sure. I mean, I know some fish I want to get, but sounds expensive too. Let's see. Steven Smith says, I'm having trouble with hatching brine shrimp. Any tips? I don't really mess with brine shrimp a whole bunch. I don't know what kind of water you're using, if your water is too hard for them to hatch out of, or if that's the thing. Really don't mess with the brine shrimp too much. Or maybe your eggs are expired. But if anybody can help out Steven Smith, I'm sure there's somebody out here that can. Because we got an awesome community for stuff that I don't know all the ins and outs about. And you would think I would know more about baby brine shrimp. Like, I have done them a few times, but I have never really needed to continue to do them. And I always kind of like, you're adding salt water to your tank too if you don't like clean them out properly. But I'm sure it's not even that much salt depending on how you feed it. But regular Daphne, I love those. But that's a little different. Baby brine shrimp's more for babies too, or baby fish, younger fish. Pray for Mojo says, I collected some wild ostracods. Have any experience with those? Also, in your experience, do scuds eat baby shrimp? I kept them before with shrimp, but never noticed anything bad happening. So, I mean, I have kept them with shrimp, and I have seen both the scuds and shrimp multiply at the same time. If there's potential, yeah, I think there could be potential for them to eat baby shrimp if they were hungry enough and didn't have enough to eat. Because those baby shrimp are really small and really vulnerable. So an adult scud could definitely wrap itself into it. But if you keep them fed, you're probably not going to see many signs of that. Or it will seem like everything's pretty stable and going forward. And as far as wild ostracods, there's quite a few different ones out there. And so many that we don't even know. So I have had some experience with wild ostracods from wet, dry areas of my yard. Or what was that? What were you guys calling those areas? God, I can't remember it now. A something pool? I got a memory of a goldfish. I say that, but supposedly goldfish do have good memories. Henry Figueroa said, did I just hear more fish? I think you did. I can't wait to get to that. I feel like I need to get my ponds though first before I go fish shopping. I'm gonna take you guys fish shopping with me here. We'll see how we do it. Cause once I get things organized in that fish room, a lot of those tanks that are kind of hodgepodge are actually gonna become more of a display tanks. Adrian's Fish Room says, have you found a noticeable difference with rainbows between your rock pile method and spawning mops? I found natural to have better results in my fish room. So when it comes to rainbow fish, and a reason why I'm gonna pick spawning mops is because I have done rock piles with rainbows, but they aren't the smartest fish. And I have had them where they've gotten to the point where they get stuck into the rocks and they just don't know how to go backwards. So saying that, I try to steer away from rock piles with rainbow fish. It's just they're not smart enough to handle them because they go crazy for food. They just like food. It's like throwing a ball in a pile of rocks for German shepherds, you know. He's probably gonna bury himself trying to get to that ball. Now rainbows will do the same thing. So when it comes to spawning the rainbows, definitely spawning mops or a floating plant, because they like to lay on those leaves and roots and algae. Algae actually, if you want the best spawning media for rainbow fish, algae all day long. You get that green hair algae, oh my god, it works perfect. Because it's harder for them to get to, or they just scatter it everywhere, and there's so many other microorganisms out of it. That's why it's so hard being a YouTuber and being like trying to get those views and having like these really awesome breeding tanks, because my best breeding tanks are my algae tanks. They're my full out algae tanks, especially for rainbow fish. And they're not really they do scatter, but they got sticky eggs too. So I did notice with first time I bred the Glossolepis maculosus, I thought the rock pile had played a big role into their breeding, because I had been trying to breed them for a long time without success. And then they finally had success with a rock pile in their tank, but it also had a lot of floating plants. So now I'm doing it without rock piles, so I don't think they're absolutely necessary for them anymore either. But boy, you got all the good rainbow fish down where you're at, buddy. I could only imagine frolicking in those creeks. And pray for Mojo. Thank you so much, Mojo. Pray for you. Thank you for that super chat. It says, thanks for answering my question. You and the family are awesome. Well, I appreciate you. And Mojo, keep your head up. Thank you so much. Keep that mojo going. I like that name. Anyways, gotta keep that mojo. All right, scroll. Yeah, that's a good question. Brayton Lightcap says, Adrian's Fish Room, out of curiosity, what time is it over there right now? Yeah, what time is it over there in Australia, mate? I'll have to work on my Australian accent before I come over there so I can blend with all you. Should be a fun time. Riz y'all. Chi-Town Pat says, what was the large Killi fish you were talking about during the Super Bowl video? That was probably the one that we were just talking about that was in Eric Bodrock's last fish room tour video. The Molmaquii. So it's like Mohi maybe, and then it's like Quii, something like that. Let's see. AMV Aquatic says I run the tube setup for brine on my Amazon. My water pH is 8.5, so hard. I use warm water, 1 tablespoon salt, and as much eggs or as little as you want. Should hatch no problem if it's not bad eggs. Chia Pet says get one of the disc hatchers if you don't need too many brine shrimp. Only things my pea floppers eat. You know, the time that I did get the brine shrimp hatching going is when I bought the Aquarium co-op. It's like one of those things that you see, it was like if that was an infomercial at night, like it's one of those kind of products, like you just see it and you want to buy it. You're like, I don't care what that costs, like I just want that thing. And although I didn't really need it, I still bought it just because I was like, if I ever do want to do brine shrimp, like that was the best setup to do those brine shrimp in. Because it made it super easy, because it had all the stuff right there for you. And I think that's why I don't remember it so much, is because it was so easy from that. Brainy Rutledge says, brine shrimp, I hatch regularly. I have a special hatchery that you don't have to have. Keep eggs refrigerated, cool. Heat should be around 78 to 79. Pull after 24 hours. Okay. And you can keep them if you know how to do like I don't know if it's brackish or full salt, but you can actually create ponds to where you grow them out. Actually, no, I have a video of Stephen Connor's 10-gallon. He's got a 10-gallon brine shrimp. So type in LRB brine shrimp, and you should get a video to where this guy's got this 10-gallon, and he's just reproducing his own brine shrimp in a little 10-gallon. And you can see the eggs floating. You could even gather your own eggs, and they're just multiplying. It's not too hard to do. Yes, the vernals. Gotta remember that. Vernal equinoxes for the vernal ponds. Oh, are they correlated? So what is that? The vernal equinoxes. God, I'm learning something new. It's been a while, honestly. Outside in Aquatic says, what is the smartest type or individual fish you have dealt with? The smartest type or individual fish I had dealt with. That's hard to say because a lot of fish and things are a lot smarter than what people give them credit for. Definitely the rope fish are super smart. Killi fish are pretty smart. They still got kind of a primitive instinct that guides them. Shoot. Barbs are smart, and they got a memory too. Smartest ones. I would say the rope fish. It's got to be the rope fish. Yeah, it's got to be the rope fish. Let's see. Henry Figueroa says, have you ever bred rainbow shiners? So I haven't, but I can imagine they probably breed a lot like what I've been breeding. I bet I could breed them. Bet I could. Or those sailfin shiners. I bet they would breed a lot like those would. Let's see. Scroll. Oh, Aqua New Grow. Thank you for becoming a gold member. Appreciate you, Aqua New Grow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. You're now one of us. Chi-Town Pat says, does Eric sell through Oddball Aquatics? Yes, I think it's all Oddball Aquatics. Yes, all Oddball Aquatics. Oh, there you go. Outside in Aquatics posting up that brine shrimp video. I appreciate that. Outside in Aquatics, you're on it. Holy moly, you guys got me over that hour mark without me even knowing it. Pray for Mojo says, I think flowerhorn cichlids and goldfish are smart. You ever see that video of goldfish doing tricks? Yeah, goldfish and flowerhorns are definitely smart for sure. I have seen videos of goldfish doing tricks, but I've also seen like some sick stuff what they will do with videos and goldfish, like feeding them magnets and getting them to move around to play soccer and do things certain ways. It's kind of messed up, but you can definitely teach fish to do tricks. So Killi Fish, the reason why I said Killi Fish is you can train them to come and swim into your hand and pet ya or pet them. You can hand feed them. Oh God, I had this blue gularis. Him and I were just like best buddies. He'd always come swimming in my hands. I'd give him little fish pets. That was a good old time. And Thomas G says, are you going to feed the plants tetracolor tropical granules before you leave? I love it, Thomas. Good question. Good question. I'll just throw a few in there. Lady LRBs would be like, what the what? But yeah, definitely so true, Craig. Time flies when you're having fun. And I have fun with these with you guys. And I'm glad that we're able to do them and talk about all this stuff because, God, this is a deep rabbit hole of aquarium keeping. And I'm glad that you guys have joined me for this wild adventure. And, all right, last question, Mimic. Mimic Nature says, will Corys and guppies breed well in the same tank as standard 40 gallon? So you'll get one, so guppies will probably do all right. There could be some predation depending on the corridor. So if you're doing pygmy cories, of course, there's not as much chance of them, the babies getting eaten from like, say a bronchius, like one of them big cory cats that could slurp up a baby, because what happens is the babies will rest on the bottom at night, and cories are quite active at night, so there is potential for predation, but not usually. So the breeding with them will go well. The hard part will be breeding any of the corydoras, because their eggs from the guppies and the cories predation would be hard to combo. But all right, so saying that, you're better off doing them separate if you really want numbers. But if you really don't care and you want the systems to feed each other, hey, I mean, it works. I mean, that's how outdoor waterways work. You got one fish feeding another fish. I hate to tell you guys this, but it's a fish eat fish world out there. It's a fish eat fish world, at least with these guys. But anyways, I love all you guys. Thank you all so much for joining me here. It's been fun. And I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great weekend. Until next time, everybody. Peace. Have a great one. Now you come in keeping fish simple. Nick, now you come in right when I'm about to jump off here, buddy. But I hope you're doing well. So jealous of your fish room tours. I'm going to be excited about seeing all that content you're going to be coming out because, man, you got a blockbuster lineup of content, and it's gonna be awesome, brother. It's gonna be awesome. But I'll see you guys till next time, everybody. Peace. Have a great one. That's right, I do dance when I sing that.